Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, and in this one I'm playing in the white journal. I have added some white gesso to the page and given it a good dry. I'm going to be using this stamp set, the Say Yes stamp set from Dina Wakley, and I'm just going to be using the face off that, and I'm going to be stamping it onto some white collage paper using some black archival ink. As you can see, I'm ever prepared for my journaling sessions. I've got my trusty cup of tea. On an evening, I tend to come up and have a little bit of time in my art room if I'm able to. And of course, a cup of tea is a very essential part of that little bit of me time in here. Yeah, it's a very, very treasured time, really. And I'm very lucky that most evenings I am able to manage that. You will notice that the camera shook quite a lot there. I stood up to get enough pressure on the stamp and I did headbutt the camera, so I do apologise about that. So I am brushing the paint through this stencil. This is one of the coaster stencils from Dina's previous release to the one that's just come out. And I just thought I would have a go at brushing the paint through. So obviously you don't get as clean a stencil. I think you could if you put less paint on your brush. But I just wanted to get some colour down on the page and get some pattern down as well. And this seemed like quite a fun way to do that. So I am, like I say, just adding the paint on through the stencil, brushing it, washing my brush in between and drying it as well. And once I move from the warm colours into the cooler colours, I do make sure that these previous colours are nice and dry so that I am not making mud anywhere on my page. So I've used, as ever, ruby, tangerine and lemon. And then once I move on to the next colours, they will be lime, turquoise, and I think I use magenta on this one. Then I've moved on to a blending tool, and again I'm just using the coaster stencils for this. To start off with. Didn't like that bit there, look, it'd gone a bit of a funky colour, so rubbed it off, which is one of the things, if you've prepped your page with gesso, that is easier to do quite often. Here is the turquoise, starting to look really pretty. So the place where the image is going to go, I am leaving that empty. You can see on the left hand side there is no stenciling over there really. That's because I wanted the image to still be quite bold over there. I didn't want any of these colours to be popping through and distracting from the face. So then this is magenta, and you can see that I've overlapped the colours and kind of mixed them up a bit. It's looking really pretty. I was quite pleased with how that went. So then I'm just chopping off the excess of the white collage tissue paper. You can also do this with a wet brush as well. You can trace round and then gently ease the paper apart where you have painted. That will give you a softer edge to your image. So here I am just sticking it down using some of Dina's ultra thick gel medium, giving that a good brush through. And I've also dried that. Then I'm going in with my lazy dotty stamp from Funky Fossil. Yeah, it's so quick. I love it. I hope it never wears out, but at this rate it really will do. So I'm just adding some dots at the top and bottom of that image I've added onto the left hand side, and you can see it just helps soften the places where it joins the page. So then I think this is called the cover stencil. I think it is. I'm not certain. I will try and find out. And I'm just going through with some white paint. And that is just bringing a little bit of white back to the foreground of the page and pushing those bright colours a little bit more into the background. And it just kind of calms it down a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then I decided I wanted it all over, so I'm just matching the stencil back up and going back in and adding a little bit more into the space. Then I had some paint left on my blending tool, so I decided I would just go around and soften the edges a little bit. And I think I even go in and do a bit more of that as well. A little bit more paint. Yeah, just pulling that out a bit more. Just kind of brings the focus a bit more into the centre of the page. So this was really quite an easy page to do with those colours painted through the stencils, and then just this simple image on the left hand side. You got quite an impactful, easy background with lots and lots of lovely colour And here you can see I am just pulling that white in a bit more. Kind of felt it was a little bit too busy, because I knew I was going to write on this, and I was going to be writing with my Stabilo pencil. As you can see, first of all, I'm going over the face and just darkening up some places on there, just to kind of make that image a bit more of the focal point, just to help it stand out a little bit more. And also, I think any practice like this when it comes to faces is good for helping you learn where the features go. Just tracing over images that someone else has drawn, it's a great way to do it. So that had a good dry, and then I went in with the Stabilo pencil and wrote on my quote. I don't often use the Stabilo pencil to do my quotes, but I really liked how this looked. And it's quite a nice soft way to get some text onto your page, because once you've water activated it, it really softens those lines. And like I say, I liked how it worked. There were a couple of places where I did go back in afterwards and just darken up some of those lines just to make that text stand out a little bit more. But yeah, this is definitely something I will be trying again. I think particularly on a white background like this, or maybe not a white background, but a lighter background that hasn't got any other black on it, this works really nicely. And obviously, if you were to press on harder with the Stabilo pencil, you would end up with darker lettering. Or you can go in lightly, like I did, water activate it, dry it, and then go back in and just darken up any bits that you feel are not quite dark enough. And then again, I'm going back in with the dotty stamp and just stamping a bit over the top of those white edges, which just kind of pulls the focus in, points towards that text. So this was so easy, as you can see, and yet quite a fun page to create. And then, just as a final pop, because I did this not long after Dina had released these neons, I was like, I wonder what will happen if I rub some neon paints over the top of the background in a few places. And I really like the effect. So I'm trying to add the neon colours over the colour that originally matches them. So obviously, like this neon green, which is called tubular, is going over the top of lime. And it just makes those colours pop a little bit. And then I think I got carried away and just started adding more and more all over the place. So this one is the colour called Radical. And this is one of my favourites, particularly if you use it with Gnarly and Stoked. Those are so lovely together. And this is really starting to make this page pop now. So Bodacious is a lovely purple. I would say it's not quite as neon as the other colours, but still nice. It's still making this page pop. So this really did end up being using all the colours, lots and lots of them. And then I'm using the Stoked and just adding a few splatters onto the page as well, because why not? Everything looks better with a bit of splatter, even my clothes apparently. And there it is, there's the finished page. So a nice easy page, painting colours through the stencil, creating a really fun background. So I hope you found some inspiration from this video, and I hope to see you again soon.